The College Radio Network and this station present an in-depth interview with Dave Edmunds. For the next 30 minutes, we'll be talking to Dave about his group and his work, and we'll be listening to some music from Dave Edmunds and Rockpile.
The 24-hour club was, to be a member, you had to be available at any hour, day or night, for a drinking session. Right, you could be knocked up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you'd have to keep on going till the last one dropped, right? And then it got even worse. I mean, a few people fell by the wayside within hours. Niccolo was in it for about 5 hours, I think. He was expelled for going to bed. And then even worse, an offshoot, was the pound a minute club. Whereas you had to go to the bar, and for every minute you were there, you had to spend £1 on drink. The 24-hour club was outlawed. Had our secret meetings and the rock and roll in the end. It seems, in one form or another. It'll go, a bit this way and a bit that way. But you always seem to end up with good pop records and something based loosely on rock and roll. I think it's quite healthy what's happened. But I don't know what the press did with it. In Britain anyway, I don't know about over here, but they jumped on the bandwagon as if they were paranoid about missing it. It's strange, because America invented rock and roll, and yet it's bigger in England now, I think. The young kids they don't have a chance to develop their roots. Now, if you see what I mean, you're right, you say they can get a group together, come in and make a record. They've got to make a record, they've got to have a recording company, then they've got to spend a lot of money on equipment, and before you know it, they're out of their depth, and they have not much in the way of musical roots to fall back on. And so a lot of bands are coming and going. I mean, look, the Beatles were around for years, just developing before they ever made their first record. I had a big hit with I Hear You Knocking, and I got a bit lazy then, because I had a bit of money. And then, thanks to Nick, and especially Jake Riviera, we just got the band together. I'm getting away from that, like, subtle as a flying mallet when I play everything myself, and it sounds basically like a compilation album of various artists, there's no continuity or flow to it at all. And I try to correct that a bit with Get It, which I think there is a bit more continuity to it, and some original songs. And this one, it's all original except for 2 songs. And it's a lot more continuity, and it sounds like a band, because it is, for the first time, the Rockpile playing together. I just thought of the name Rockpile for the album, and years later, the band, we needed a name, so we called it Rockpile.
I'm tired of you telling me what I have to do, sticking your nose in my business that don't concern you. It's my own business. It's my own business. Seems like the ones that always tell you they don't have it all as much as you. If I go buy a Cadillac convertible coupe, all I got at home to eat is just a onion soup. It's my own business. But it's my
have in the past written, produced, and performed. Of the three, which do you prefer?
At the moment, performing.
At the moment, changes from day to day, huh?
No, it took a long time. I started with a band called, I first had some record success with a band called Love Sculpture, which is just a local band from around my hometown, Cardiff, in Wales, England, and we got lucky and had a hit, a thing called Sabre Dance, a Cacciaturi and the classical thing, instrumental. And I didn't enjoy then what happened after that. We were gigging all around England, and I didn't enjoy it, so I decided not to do it and concentrate on studio work, which I did, and that resulted in I Hear You Knocking and a few things, Spectre rip-offs and, and some production work, and then that kind of got dull, because having done it, you want to move on to something different, or I do anyway, yeah. And I got together with Nick a few years ago when I moved from Wales up to London, and we got the band together, and with the help of Jake Riviera and Terry Williams on drums and Billy Bremner on guitar and Nick Lowe on bass, it's a lot more fun than it ever used to be.
You mentioned Phil Spector. Do you find that he's one of the producers you admire more than
yeah, oh yeah, I mean, he is, like, phenomenal.
Who else's production do you like?
I wouldn't like to have to choose between Brian Wilson and Phil Spector, especially the earlier Brian Wilson stuff.
What production have you done besides your own?
I did the first Foggart album, and sort of English bands that I produced because they're sort of friends. You know, I never considered myself a producer as such. I mean, someone who tells the band, you know, chooses the material, tells the band how to do it and what key to do it in, or tells them not to do it or whatever. You know, I never did that. It's just that if some friends of mine in bands like Ducks Deluxe, Brinsley Schwartz, Man, that was the band that Terry Williams used to play with. I just help them out. I do the engineering and throw in a few suggestions.
You mentioned Nick Lowe before. It seems to me that you have a rather unusual relationship in that you're both rising stars, if you will, at least here in the States, and you both produce, you both write, and yet you've managed to coexist in the same group for, I guess, a few years now, and you seem to be both working out rather well. How do you explain that? Are you good friends, just working partners, or what?
Very good friends indeed. But we don't live in each other's pockets, you know. None of us do, actually. Not because we don't want to. I think it's just wiser not to. We work, rehearse, record, and it's great. I mean, Nick is the writer. I never considered myself a songwriter, you know, but now, since I've been working with him, I am contributing to an extent. And I'm the guitarist, and he's not. So we complement each other in a way.
On his album, a lot of the material was co-written, and on your new album, a lot of the material is co-written.
Yeah.
Yet, how do you decide what songs are going to go to whose record? And it seems like a rather unusual arrangement.
It seems like a foregone conclusion in a way. One song will be naturally more suited to him, and another one that... You see, what he does, he'll come up with a verse a week, you know, 2 verses a week, just the first verse of a song, a premise, and then he forgets them, and I always remember them. And then maybe a year or 2 later, I'll say, Nick, remember that song? And you say, no, and then I'll remind him, and we both work on it from there.
Does the rest of the group contribute to the writing process?
It's getting that way, yeah. Yeah.
So you feel you're still growing, kind of becoming more cohesive as time goes on?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a long way to go, potential-wise, with this band.
There's a girl living in this town. She's a fox and she knows it well. All the fellas from miles around I wanna get her, but they never will. Just to have a girl with so much class, they crawl a mile over broken glass, and she'd let them
apply to your kind of writing? What kind of music do you enjoy putting out? I've noticed descriptions and reviews of your music, and to a lesser extent, the music that came out on Nick's album, as anywhere from power pop to rockabilly or that sort of thing. Where would you like to be classified, if at all?
Well, I've done a few different things, rockabilly things, rock and roll, Phil Spector and all that. But when we got the band together, the idea was to do rock and roll stuff, sort of 3-minute songs, exciting stuff, you know, but not just, I don't want to slag anyone off, hang on, not just mindless noise, but something with a bit of class in it, like, you're thinking about like old Everly Brothers records and things like that, where you hear the most incredible guitar solos, you know, really something with a bit of class and a bit of taste in it, but still with balls in it, you know. That was the idea of the band.
The group Rockpile has been associated with another fast-rising star, Elvis Costello.
Oh yeah, well we have the same manager, Jake Riviera.
Do you agree with him that if a song is longer than 3 minutes, it starts to get boring?
Yeah, Elvis didn't invent that, actually. Me and Nick have been, we've held that view for a long, long time.
What's your favorite song in the new album?
It's a song called Never Been in Love, which is quite poppy, actually. It started when I was doing the last tour with Brinsley's. I did a spot with them, and we were listening to a Sam Cooke tape, playing that song, what was it, If You Ever Bring It On Home to Me.
Right, fine song, been done by a lot of people.
Yeah, and Nick, like I was saying, he just came up with a verse. You want to see the way my friends fare, whenever we're out in a pair. Real Sam Cooke style. And I reminded him about it about 3 years later, and we went in to do it like that. It was so bloody boring. We just knew that wasn't the way to do it, so we tarted it up, speeded it up a bit, put a bit of life into it, and I like it. I think that's my favourite.
So that was another collaboration effort.
Yeah, and I think it's my favourite guitar solo that I've done.
Ever?
I think so. Yeah.
You ought to see the way my friends stare whenever we're out in a pair. They make a scene, they make a fuss, such a commotion all over us. They all want to know why we're on a glow. They can't understand why we're walking hand in hand, 'cause they have never been in love. Don't ever mind what's on the grapevine, 'cause I'm yours and you are mine. They think it's rich when I call you honey. I get upset, but I just think it's funny. So let them never say we can walk away to a strong steel. They'll never
What's the next project that the group is working on?
After this tour, we get back mid-December. I have to start on a new album. Nick has to start on a new album.
At the same time?
We've got the same studio booked, and we'll just play it by, when I've got something to do.
So you do a few songs a day and then split them up?
I think it'll work like that this time, yeah. Yeah.
Do you find your record labels particularly cooperative to that kind of thought, or they don't have much to do with it until you've
No, they
finished
don't.
something?
Nick has to deliver an album. I have to deliver an album.
You both produce your own?
Yeah. And the fact that we may use Terry and Billy on drums and guitar, respectively, has nothing to do with the record company. We can use whichever musicians we want.
Have there been any philosophy changes between albums, or do you see it all as pretty much a similar line of work?
Yeah, there are changes. I mean, my first album was, I can't remember what was on it, it was so long ago. It was things recorded over a period of time and then slapped together to make an album. The second album I did was it Subtle as a Flying Mallet on RCA? And that was really like, it's like a compilation of various artists. There's the two Phil Spector lookalikes on there, and some Everly Brothers, and a few live tracks that I did with Prinsley Shorts. Not the way to put an album together, although each track individually, I'm not